Moving on now, and it's a topic which a lot of you actually wrote down in the beginning of the session, that active learning has to do with role playing. And yes, you are correct that active learning definitely has to do with role playing. And remember, there are two main different types of role play that we can do in the classroom. There is the role play that I would generally use for younger students, and that would be a role play which is guided role play, where student A would have a particular set of information and student B would have other information. They are exchanging their roles. For older students, what you can do is to get them to learn to improvise. Okay, improvisation is something that they can do on the spot, answer on the spot. And this is where role play starts to get a lot more interesting for students because they have their own input. They can say whatever they like as long as they are on the track and the guidelines that you have given them. Another part of active learning is visiting sites, okay? Now, we as teachers and as parents as well, we all know the dangers of getting students to visit sites. So make sure that if you have some sort of site to suggest for the students, make sure that one, it is updated and that it's not outdated anymore. And secondly, that it's appropriate for students of that particular age group. So we can't just get them to visit any sort of sites. It has to be more guided. The next topic that I'd like to talk about is self-assessment. Okay, students find it very difficult sometimes to assess themselves as far as their English speaking is concerned. In fact, I remember when sometimes my children used to come home and I used to ask them, okay, how was school? How was your English lesson or your maths lesson or whatever? They would say, oh, okay, what did you learn today? Oh, I don't remember, or not much. Okay. So, in order to avoid this negativity and in order to avoid students feeling that they haven't learned much in a particular lesson, this is where self-assessment starts to come into play. Okay, students must realize and be aware of what they are learning. One way that you can do this for young students is to get them to, for example, realize what vocabulary words they've learnt at a very simple level, okay, for the first few grades, and what structures they have learned. So students will understand, for example, oh, I know how to say trees, flowers, bear, and a river in English, and I know how to talk about the weather. I can say it's sunny. I know how to talk about ability. I can jump. So when students go home at the end of the lesson and their parents will ask them, what did you do today? What did you learn today? It is more likely that students now, because of this self-assessment, have become more aware of what they have learned. Let's take a little look at a self-assessment for older students, okay? So for older students, you might get them to go through a list of things like this. For example, use conditional sentences type 1 to express possibility and the 0 conditional to express a general truth. I now know how to design a leaflet and write about the environment. So, getting your students involved in self-assessment is a big plus because they suddenly realized, yes, I am finally or they realize themselves that they are learning something in English, or that something that they can connect. Okay. Another term, which actually a few of you wrote down at the beginning of the session, was this term: think, pair, share. For many of us, this is perhaps self-explanatory, but let's take a little look at a meaning for think, pair, and share. What does it mean? The Think, Pair, Share, or TPS, is a collaborative learning strategy where students work together to solve a problem or answer a question about assigned reading. This strategy requires students to think individually about a topic or answer to a question and share ideas with classmates. So when you're thinking of this explanation of this think, pair, share, what are the benefits of think, pair, share? Certainly, students feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts. And, when you have students working in pairs or in small groups, they feel more comfortable sharing any of their thoughts rather than sharing their thoughts in front of a whole classroom. Okay. Some students don't like to be put on the spot, and they don't like to be listened to by everyone. So getting students to work in pairs or small groups gets them over this phase. Secondly, it improves social skills, learning to get better with our classmates. And last but not least, it improves speaking and listening skills. So let's take a little example. I'm not sure if you can see this very well, of think, pair, share activity. So here are some students. Talk in pairs. Look and match the prompts in the box and make sentences. This is a guided version of think, pair, share for the younger students. For older students, you could give them the general idea and they can improvise and work on something like this, equivalent like this. The next